Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, consumers seem to begin their shopping earlier and earlier each year. And this year, I think they started buying even earlier due to the supply chain shortages, and which seem to impact everything from popular toys to footwear and even coffee. But how did retailers prepare for this shopping season that we're right in the middle of right now? Well, Ritu Dubey from Digitate is going to join me on the podcast to discuss how retailers are automating workflows to relieve IT teams so that they can enjoy a good old-fashioned rest this holiday season without those alerts going around the clock, knowing that their customers are having a good experience. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Zurich in Switzerland so we can speak with Ritu now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, Neil, and thanks for inviting me. My name is Ritu, and I'm responsible for new business sales and market development for Digitate. Our company's focus is to drive the autonomous enterprise paradigm, which is essentially about transforming operations, business and IT operations, using AI and automation for improved resiliency, assurance, and efficiency.
And if I take you back before Digitate, can you remember where your passion for technology and marketing and MarTech, where all that came from and what it was that put you on this path?
I actually have an engineering background.
Yeah.
And right after my bachelor's, I joined the tech industry and have been in it now for more than 2 decades. So I've actually seen the whole Y2K revolution. When we started, we thought it was a big thing at that point in time, the internet revolution, and now to the digital revolution. And here we are today where, every company is becoming a technology company. So for the past 10 years, I had been following and observing that breakthrough technologies like AI, machine learning, cloud, automation, and they had sort of the potential for really redefining the businesses and driving creative disruptions. So about 4 years ago, I joined Digitate as I saw that this is a great opportunity to see AI and machine learning in action in our clients' operations environment and the benefits resulting thereof. And I'm glad I made the move.
And that path, of course, led you to Digitate, which is an incredibly cool name. I'm not sure if there's a story behind that name, but can you set the scene and tell the listeners a little bit more about what Digitate is and the kind of problems that you're solving with technology?
It was actually in 2013, with the advent of these technologies, these advanced technologies, we were starting to see that they were making an impact on the business models. But when we started with a very simple question. And the question was, can these breakthrough technologies be leveraged to reimagine IT and IT-enabled services? So a group of scientists at the Tata Research Development Design Center, they set out to crack this challenge. And they quickly realized that the winning formula is a technology that blends the ability to mimic human thinking and decision-making with the ability to perform action simultaneously. So it was soon realized that what we have built was innovative and had the potential to play a very foundational role in the enterprise's digital transformation journey. And that innovative technology product was christened as Ignio, and that led to the creation of Digitate. And fundamentally, we want to continue to create innovative technology products, and the mission is empowering people to do more. So as I mentioned, Ignio is a unique proposition to the market because it blends AI and machine learning and advanced software engineering principles to reimagine enterprise operations. So essentially, it's a closed loop system. And what are closed loop systems? These are the systems that can understand the changes in the behavior patterns of an enterprise's operations. They're able to apply sophisticated decision making. They're able to learn. They have the ability to not only reason, but also take actions end to end. So this allows Ignio to not only solve operational issues when they occur, but more importantly, predict the future events to prevent them from happening in the first place. And that's what actually drives the assurance, speed, and efficiency in business and IT operations.
And of course, we are at that time of the year. We're right in the middle of the holiday season right now. And during Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday sales, website crashes or slow sites were all too common, leading to frustrations for customers and potentially costing companies millions during downtimes on top of ongoing shortages, etc. There's been so much going on this year. But can you share some of the insights that you've learned over the years of Black Friday sales and the kind of things that you've seen?
Yeah, during the peak holiday season or Black Friday sales, of course, retailers are they are expected to operate at full steam across all the sales channels, online and offline. So whether it's your e-commerce site or retail stores, they must run like well-oiled machines. So while the physical and online stores are critical, in order for these channels to run smoothly, the entire retail value chain, which is plan, buy, move, and supply, consisting of products, pricing, promotions, forecasting, buying, warehouse and distribution, and supply chain logistics, all of these are equally critical. So I'll take a few examples. So if you look from the plan and buy value chain perspective, some of the business challenges we have observed are related to, for example, pricing mismatches between on-shelf and the point of sales. There are stock replenishment errors. There are enterprise and store reporting issues. And if you dig deeper, the underlying challenges are typically, there will be an SLA breach for batch systems. There will be some database failures or hung services. And all of these sort of are contributing to the pricing, replenishment, order management, business flows. Or if you take an example on the move part of the retail value chain, technical challenges like downtime of the core IT systems in the warehouse, that could manifest as a business challenge like a missed or delayed store order shipment. Or in the sell area, right, the e-commerce anomalies and the slowness, they are typically, linked to technical issues, the underlying technical issues like inventory database out of sync or caching, etc. So when they look at it holistically, there are numerous potential, points of failure, and the entire interconnected enterprise needs to work, right, to extra capacity during this kind of season. So any point failure can impact customer experience. So the need, especially during these times, is to anticipate the failure or the prediction. And that's a big ask that comes from the retailers, followed by resiliency and agility. So the most important thing is that, you need to have technologies that are able to anticipate a possible behavior sort of coming in the near future. And does that impact the customer experience? Does that impact the business? And if you cannot predict that problem, is there a way that you can quickly bounce back in a matter of seconds if the issue happens, right? So you can keep the operations flowing smoothly at the store. So ultimately, the retailers want to sail through peak seasons with, they want to sail through ease. They want uninterrupted store operations and supply chain management. And today there are technologies that are able to sort of deliver on that.
And another topic that I think we should explore is I think many consumers just expect technology to work. And when it doesn't work, they're not interested in why it doesn't work. They just go somewhere else. And equally, IT teams can become completely overwhelmed trying to ensure that there are no disruptions for shoppers. But there's only so much that they can do. But if we move from a reactive to a more proactive approach, how can they combat these issues?
Yeah, I think there are definitely advanced technologies that can help. And the way our technology, Ignio, works is that it sort of creates, first of all, a contextual blueprint of the key business flows for an enterprise, whether be it a retailer or any other domain. And it captures the normal behavior, right? So you understand how the organization behaves through different, times of the year and what is sort of the normal behavior. And then it's able to sort of detect anomalies across transactions when certain abnormality comes, right, which is a departure from their normal behavior. So this kind of, understanding the behavior, and once you identify an anomaly, it is able to proactively fix the issues and resolve it. So this kind of behavior of the technology builds the resiliency and the reliability that is that is the ask of the organizations. And therefore, from our technology standpoint, we are able to anticipate the increase in the demand in business during the holiday season, and what is the need that is there in terms of the health checks that need to be done in order to ensure that the systems are not on holiday when during the holiday shopping time. So just to give you a very specific example, one of our solutions is the Igneo's always on retail store solution. And what it does is essentially it simplifies the day in the life of a retailer by breaking down the physical and digital silos. So the big challenge that most enterprises have today, it originates from the fact that there are data silos that exist in the enterprise, and that's coupled that with sort of the distributed applications running on distributed infrastructure, and all that makes it very difficult to understand really what's going on at a enterprise level, right? At across the various business functions, not at a point function. So what does always on do for the retail store is that it provides the health of the whole geographically distributed stores for a retailer. It could be 100 stores, it could be thousands of stores, and store health typically consists of aggregated business functions like what's the health of checkouts, what's the health of inventory, what's the health of logistics. And Igneo is able to derive the health by running the health checks, doing health diagnostics, integrating the data silos, and then we can track very specific KPIs like what's the footfall, what's the average basket spend, et cetera. So it could go down to the extent of telling you that for example, lane 1 of the checkout process is critical because a POS or a point of sale application in lane 1 is showing red, and due to certain service issues, right, the underlying issues, the response time seemed to be much higher than the expected behavior. And once that is triggered, it could do an auto triage and auto resolve the issues as well. Or for example, it could create a real-time visibility into the sales transactions for the store. So it could say, for example, store 2, some anomalies have been detected, and drilling down, one observes that there are few transactions that are running long because there is a certain, let's say, a technical issue related to memory utilization, et cetera. So in summary, when you have a technology that enables you to detect, triage, auto heal anomalies, then you are sort of creating an enterprise that is much more predictive in nature. So the summary is that with the multifold complexity that we have in enterprises, the abundance of data, and it's only increasing, you need intelligent automation solutions to work alongside these operational teams to predict and prevent business failures. And the good news is that it can be done.
And of course, automation is widely seen as incredibly effective, but a problem for many teams is that they don't know what to automate to be successful. So for anyone looking to automate or maybe using your technology, where should they start?
I would say the best place to start is to identify a narrow area, and it could be as small as a single use case where the technology can make the most impact, right? It could also be an area where it is hurting the organization the most. And we have to be clear what we are solving, right? Are we impacting on the business assurance? Are we impacting productivity, for example? Are we giving back time to the business and IT to do more high-value tasks? Are we reducing overtime, or we are impacting the speed? For example, can we resolve the issues 95% faster than today? So I think with the clear initial use case, the clear outcome that we want to drive, and in parallel sort of create a business case, I think these three elements, if we get it right in the MVP stage, which is the minimum viable product stage, then I think the scale up happens pretty smoothly. And what we have seen in sort of our 200 odd implementations or more is that post the initial MVP, and the success of that, there is almost like a hockey stick effect to adoption, because the whole enterprise then starts to embrace it, and there is some benefit in it for everybody.
And just to bring to life some of the things that we're talking about here, do you have a use case or a story of how you've helped a company on this journey, just to give listeners a kind of before and after picture and understand how it could work in their world?
Yeah, this is pre-COVID. A few years ago, a client of ours, which is a luxury fashion retailer, they witnessed a major surge in their online traffic of about 55% over the expected number, and that resulted in actually their IT system crashing down. So to avoid such a situation in the future, they needed a resilient IT infrastructure to support their peak seasons and ensuring the best customer experience. So fundamentally, it was that use case that we said we went after, right? How do you ensure that the underlying infrastructure supports the peak season spike? So, and then we deployed Ignio. Our technology was deployed, and what it essentially did is, again, assimilated the data to construct the 360-degree view blueprint of the critical customer-facing and in-store applications. And using the blueprint itself, learned the behavior patterns of key performance and capacity attributes of the applications. It did the health checks to detect their abnormal behaviors and remediate issues if they happened automatically. So Ignio actually reinforced stability in both the application as well as the technology layers to prevent outage and recover from incidents. So the post scenario was, after Ignio was deployed, that there was actually zero downtime the following year when the peak season happened. And we also observed that one of the things Ignio was able to do, that almost 70% of the issues which came earlier, they were completely eliminated as well. So it's a matter of not just automating, but it's predicting, it's eliminating as well. So Ignio played a pretty crucial role in managing their peak season and improving their store operations. And I think we anticipate similar peaks back this year as well.
And we are at that time of the year where we're starting to look at the trends that might dominate the following year. So are there any particular tech trends that excite you in this space right now, or anything that you're watching very closely?
I think what is interesting for me is sort of the impact of the tech trends, right? So I think what we're now seeing is that with the rapid pace of these breakthrough technologies I talked about, like AI, big data, cloud, intelligent automation, and sort of embedding of technology into almost all aspects of business and life, it's completely reshaping the entire industry. So they are acting as a catalyst, driving superior experiences and new business models. So fundamentally, what we are seeing is that, these technologies are allowing us to do four key things. The first thing is about mass personalization, because this allows us to understand the customers as a segment of one and, right, sort of cater to that specific individuals, right? That's the power of it. The second thing they're allowing us to do is to really create exponential value for customers, because they can deliver a step change in terms of better products, world-class service, right? Incredible price point and instantaneous delivery. The third thing is about, it's allowing us to leverage ecosystems, right? So, typically organizations, they're operating in their own silos, but now they can start to extend the value chain beyond their own enterprise, right? So, for example, we see like airlines and hotels collaborating, right, to provide a seamless travel and stay experience to end customers. So that's sort of the context of leveraging ecosystems, and definitely embracing risk as well, because they are embracing risk because it allows them to adapt and transform continuously. So fundamentally, business landscape, because of these technologies, is going to look very different in a few years down the line.
And what's next for Digitate? What's going to be your focus next year? I appreciate there's probably not too much you can share, but is there anything you can about what you're going to be focusing on?
So I will continue to believe that AI and ML based solutions will become a very powerful force to drive significant value for society and businesses. And AI led automation technologies are very significant in this age, right? To run the mission critical systems and the IT backbones of very essential services like healthcare and utilities and telecom and banking and financial services and retail, right? So from Digitate standpoint, we want to continue to identify and deliver on the business assurance and resiliency. We will continue to lead and define the whole autonomous enterprise space. We will continue to build sophisticated technology in areas of detection, learning, thinking, prediction, and acting, and vertical solutions that sort of cater to the different industry domains. We are more horizontal today, but we want to get also more vertical solutions for domains. And I mean, our ultimate ambition is to leverage the full power of AI and machine learning, ultimately to create self-healing and self-driven enterprises where problems are proactively identified and prevented from happening in the first place. And I think a lot of the organizations have started on the path, but to really reach the full potential and see the impact at scale, I mean, it's going to be beautiful.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time today. But before I let you go, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you now. We did begin talking about your origin story. I'm now going to ask you, what was the soundtrack to your origin story? I know you've done a lot of travelling. You're in Zurich at the moment, I believe. So I would imagine that's going to include some noise-cancelling headphones at some stage. So is there a particular song or piece of music that accompanies you on your journey?
Before I moved to Zurich, I lived in Sweden for 12 years. But that's not the reason why I chose this song. But one of my favorite songs is by ABBA, which is I Have a Dream. And the reason I like this song so much is because there's so much of positivity in it. It motivates you to take the future, have sort of positive thoughts about everything that happens in your life and around you. So for me, I interpret it as taking on lofty goals and leading a purposeful life.
Wow, man, what a great choice. A great story behind it too. And for anyone listening that would like to find information about Digitate, what's the best way of finding you online and contacting your team? What's the best starting point?
You could contact us at our website, digitate.com. or all our social media handles, which is Twitter, Insta, Meta for Business, or YouTube, and we go by Ignio by Digitate. And you can also contact me on LinkedIn.
Well, I've loved chatting with you today about how retailers can automate workflows to relieve IT teams so that they can rest a little easier over the holiday season, knowing their customers are having a good experience. And as an ex-IT guy that used to be on call a lot, I fully appreciate that. But more than anything, thank you for sharing your story and sitting down with me today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Neil.
Now, I know I'm going to date myself in saying this, but when I first heard about Digitate, the INXS song Mediate suddenly started playing on repeat inside my head. And I think it was on the Kick album. It began right at the end of Need You Tonight, and it goes something. It's pretty much, it was just Michael Hutchence saying, mediate, alleviate, try not to hate, love your mate, Digitate. I just felt compelled to put Digitate in there. Maybe it's something they could use for a marketing campaign at some stage, but random thought, I know. But hey, if it's in my head, I've got to share it with you all. So for e-commerce retailers, website crashes or slow websites are all too common during the holiday shopping season, especially things like Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And if they go down at that critical time, it leads to customers feeling frustrated, and they just go to another website instead, potentially costing companies millions during downtimes on top of the problems around ongoing shortages at the moment. And although teams can become overwhelmed trying to ensure there are no disruptions for shoppers, there is only so much they can do. So to combat that, automating certain processes throughout the e-commerce workflow could help mitigate those kind of problems and ensure customers don't feel any impact. And while automation is effective, as we covered in the conversation there, many teams still don't know what to automate to be successful. So I hope today's episode has changed that, and you learnt a few things. I know I certainly did. So a huge thank you to Ritu for coming on the podcast. For each and every one of you, if you've got anything else you want to add to today's conversation, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. But that's it for today's episode, so a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.